Hello, everyone. My name is Jim Martin, and welcome to this webcast on teaching essential self-determination skills. Look at the t-shirt I'm wearing today. Do you like this? A Block I t-shirt. Yep, I'm an Illinois guy. I grew up in East Central Illinois. I was born in Illinois, went to school in Illinois, worked professionally in Illinois for a few years. And then I needed to learn more. I thought somebody ought to know more about what it is we're doing. And so I went to the University of Illinois to obtain my doctoral degree in special education and studied what we would now call secondary transition education. Since then, I've worked at 3 different universities. I've spent the last 20 years at the University of Oklahoma, where I am now professor emeritus. For 20 years, I directed the OU Zero Center. I held the Zero Family Chair, and I was a professor in the Department of Educational Psychology and taught in the special education program. Over the years, I've been involved in a lot of, with colleagues. Colleagues and I have together, we've developed lesson packages, assessment packages to help figure out how to assess and teach essential self-determination skills. And we're going to look at some of those today, as well as materials developed by other development teams as well. So without further ado, let's jump into the presentation itself. I've got to press a couple buttons, so give me a second to do this. And away we go. Many thanks to the Illinois Center for Transition Work for sponsoring this webcast. And in fact, they sponsored the entire webcast series, and it was a great idea they had to do this. Pay attention to the Illinois Center for Transition Work because they're doing some really cool things, and they'll be having many more opportunities in the future to learn about secondary transition education best practices. So today's title is Teaching Essential Self-Determination Skills. And once again, I am Jim Martin. I'll be your narrator for this webcast. Our agenda today is a simple one. We're going to teach specific self-determination skills using various lesson packages. But first, we're going to look at the need for self-determination skills. Then we'll review the lesson packages, and then we'll have a brief summary that ties it all together. But first, we always have to look at and remember the purpose of special education, which is to provide a free, appropriate public education that emphasizes special education and related services designed to meet students' unique needs. And it's a big and this got added after that initial purpose was added, it was written into the federal special education law. And here's what it says: and to prepare them, to prepare our students with IEPs for further education, employment, and independent living. So let's parse this out a bit. So special education, instruction to prepare students with IEPs for post-school outcomes. So special education, what we do well is teach skills. And so we as special educators teach students specific skills as defined in the law to prepare them for life after high school. And yes, academic skills are important, no doubt about that. But what we now know, there's another set of skills that when learned will increase students' likelihood for post-school success. And they'll do better in school, in high school, in middle school as a result of that also. So we have a recipe for success. Like all recipes, it always doesn't turn out perfect. But when we follow a recipe, it's more likely to be a successful product. So students do not automatically learn skills needed for a successful transition. And to increase the likelihood of positive post-school outcomes, we need to teach our students with IEPs essential self-determination skills, and then provide them opportunities to practice these newly learned skills. So to do this, we're going to review several lesson packages. And the first one is one called Self-Directed Transition Planning, otherwise known as SDTP. It has its purpose and its features are these, is to teach students information needed to have a voice in the transition planning process. Other materials like the self-directed IEP, the self-advocacy strategy, whose future is it anyway, do a great job of teaching the process, but not a whole lot about the content. And so SDTP helps students get the information so they can go to the IEP meeting as a resourceful team member that with the knowledge to actively participate. So key features of SDTP, it's to process and obtain input along the way from family members and educators, and of course from the student, him or herself, about what they think about issues. And effectiveness research on this have been published. And best of all, it's a free lesson package available for download at the OU Zero Center website. Just Google Zero Center and it will take you right there. So here's one of the studies, increasing students' knowledge and self-efficacy in the transition planning process. So this is what the website will look at when you go to it. It's kind of a curriculum scope and sequence, and it's sequential, but then you have some choices with this as well. But before we look at the curriculum materials, look at the box in the bottom right-hand corner. There's some pre-post measurement tools as well. There's a transition knowledge test. It's multiple choice. It has true-false questions, and you get an answer key for the teacher. And there's a self-efficacy scale, how the students believe they will do this for the student, parent, and teacher. Self-efficacy, it's like that little kid story about the train that was trying to deliver snacks and candies and milk and cookies over the mountain for the little boys and girls who were hungry. And that little train just kept saying, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. It got support from other people along the way. That's self-efficacy, that sense that I think I can do it. Excuse me. And it also provides a measure of self-efficacy. So those are all available for download. Just click on each one of those and you can download them. So the curriculum itself, it's a lesson on awareness, who I am, what are my skills, what are my limits, what's my disability about? How does the disability impact me? The next lesson, you might have to modify this a bit to meet the demands of your specific jargon used in your district and in your state and in your school. But this is where students learn the terms and concepts of transition. It's probably the most boring of all of them in some ways, but students need to know the language to be able to go forward. And then students drop down, and it doesn't make any difference which one they do first. I'd recommend a vision for employment. They work on developing a vision for adult living, and then a vision for post-secondary education. So this is where the post-secondary goals emerge. Students will take assessments, they will think about it, they'll process it, they'll get feedback from significant others about what this means to them, and then they put this all together into a course of study. And so students help make their own course of study, looking at what I need to finish school, but what do I also need to be able to do what I want when I'm out of school? What courses can I take in school? What extracurricular activities can I take? What kind of community experiences can I have that will help prepare me for what I want to do when I'm out of school. And that all comes alive in the course of study. And so rather than just us as educators giving the course of study to students, we want students to actively engage and to learn what that course of study is. And so if you want to do this, you really need to have in high school these particular courses as a way to prepare for what you hope to do. Then we look at connecting services. These are the adult services that students may need depending upon who they are and what they want to accomplish. And then finally, students put together their own summary of performance to present all of the information at their exit IEP meeting. And we have a self-directed summary of performance that really ties all this together. So now let's look at some of the materials that are in this particular curriculum, the student-directed transition planning lesson package. So this is the awareness lesson. So click on awareness, download the PowerPoint. There's scripted lesson instructions for the educator that follows along. There's a PowerPoint presentation. And when you go to the website to open it up, you see teaching materials, the awareness lesson presentation, that's the PowerPoint file. The teacher's guide is the scripted lessons. And then you have all of the activities that you'll need as you go through the lessons, and those can be downloaded as well. And all of SDTP uses this wheel, this culturally appropriate wheel to set goals, develop a plan, manage the plan, reflect and adjust on how the plan has gone, and then set new goals. So it goes round and round and round until a student accomplishes their goals, and then they set new goals. So here's the first lesson on awareness of self, disability, family, and community. And so we'll be showing several slides from this that are particular for students. And so these are designed for students, but I want to give you a sense of what students will see when you take them through this lesson. So the first thing students do is complete a self-awareness survey. And this is what's up on the slide, note a slide from the student lesson. Be honest with yourself, get feedback from others about what you think, and you'll be adding more information as we go through the lessons. And so the first thing students do is what's important to me. And they go across these different areas: free time, health, helping others, recreational work, nature, learning, friends, spirituality, religion, creativity in the arts, and humor, and family. And so they'll circle, they'll color in each one up as high as they want to show how important it is. And then they go through and they click what I'm presently doing at this. So for instance, look at this one. This person said, friends are very important, but right now I'm so busy with school and my part-time job, I don't have a lot of time to spend with friends. Or work is I know I have to do a little work, but right now in school, it's not that important to me, but it's something I need to do just to help out at home. But I spend a lot of time at work, in my opinion, too much time at work. You see, so students look at what's important to me and what I'm doing. And we look at the discrepancy between what's important and what I'm doing. Here's another slide from the student lesson. We pull on what Snow did, and she uses the example of apples. All apples are just naturally occurring. And having a disability is a natural part of just being a human. And the sun shines equally on all the apples in the bowl, and just like the sun shines equally on all people. And disability is just a part of life. This lesson package this first lesson goes through the lives of several people. These are generally well-known people. It will give a description of who the person is, and then you have to guess who he is. So I'll show you a couple of them. This man struggled in school and had a learning disability. He went on to become a successful movie producer, director, screenwriter, animator, and theme park developer. He founded one of the largest media and entertainment corporations in the world. Who is this person? And of course, it's Walt Disney. Then we look at Steve Jobs, and he struggled with a learning disability. And he dropped out of school once because of his frustration and a hard time learning. And we all know he created Apple Computers and the Apple Corporation. Students start learning about disability awareness. And in doing this, we ask students to get input from family members, from their educators, and what they think of their disability, what their disability is. They get input, and then they summarize the input into one overall perspective. This is a good way we found so that students just don't make these decisions by themselves, but they thoughtfully look at what families think, what their teachers think, what they think, and then they put it all together in a final summary. And we usually encourage students to think about it first and then get input from the others, and then to see if the input from others will help modify what the student thinks. Concepts and terms for transition planning, that's another lesson. Students learn about the transition journey, concepts and vocabulary, visions, planning. Transition visions is that post-secondary goal, what your dreams will be as an adult, where you're going to learn, live, and work. Review transition terminology and getting to know the IEP document itself. Get input from family members. What does your family need from you? Does your family have any particular needs that they need from you? Like in some families, the need might be that you stay home and take care of grandmother. When you get out of high school, it's your turn. That's what we do in our family. Or your need is not to go to college after school. We need you to help support our family financially, so you have to get a job. Does your family have particular needs for you? And so this is all a design for students to write their own script. Like for living, this is the example for living. My adult living strengths are, my adult living needs are, my goal is to live in an apartment with my older brother in the next town. To reach this goal, I will graduate from high school and get a job so I can help pay bills. Accommodations I need somebody to teach me the skills that I don't have yet. See the idea? So students come up with a script. Then we come up with a course of study. Students learn what the course of study is, come up with a purpose, like this, for example. Jake wants to be a welder. Let's look at an example of a course of study that will help Jake become a welder. So the lesson plan will then go through the course of study. Another part of curriculum scope and sequence is connecting with adult supports and services. This is the slide from that lesson package. And then finally, students put it all together, coming up with the summary of performance, which is their student-directed summary of performance that then they share at their exit IEP meeting. It depicts what their strengths are, what their needs are, what their goals are, what supports they need in the future, and what's been done to help arrange those. So we put it all together with the summary of performance. So rather than just the summary of performance, we use a student-directed summary of performance to frame the transition plan. And then students take their student-directed summary of performance and use it all the way through high school. Not as the summary of performance until they leave school, but it gives them all the content they need to become a meaningful team member at the IEP meeting. And there's been a couple studies completed on the SDTP, and they both were found to to increase student skills. Encourage you to go look at SDTP, the Student Directed Transition Planning, to learn more about it. It's available at the Zero Center website, and go study it. The most popular downloaded item at the Zero Center website by far is the Me lessons. Me, exclamation, not me, but Me. Lessons for teaching self-awareness and self-advocacy. Penny Cantley, who's now a professor at Oklahoma State University, was the key author behind this. And she did a lot to, her dissertation helped demonstrate the efficacy of the Me lessons. So its purpose is to facilitate the teaching and learning of critical transition skills. It's well-versed in helping students to become self-aware and to take that information and then advocate for themselves. But why me? Why would you want to use Me? Is what we know is disability awareness and self-advocacy are associated with or predict high school and post-school success for education, employment, and quality of life. And there's very few lesson materials to specifically help students learn about their disability and to then use that information to use it to self-advocate for themselves. So the Me consists of these things. The Me book, a KWL chart of students, these are the major components. Students will do a self-awareness research project where they will learn more and examine about their particular disability, not the myths, but what it actually is. Then there's a self-advocacy task they have to perform. And then there's the teacher has a whole series of bell ringer activities that can be done at the start of class to help teach more essential transition skills. So the lesson package altogether will teach students to identify their strengths and their needs. It will help them to understand what their disability is, not necessarily in psychological mumbo jumbo, but how their disability impacts them, and along with it, how to interact with others so they can self-advocate for themselves in an effective way. So the units are, there's a unit on getting started to understand what self-advocacy and self-awareness is all about. And then originally we didn't have the second unit in there. It's about learning about special education. But once we were beginning to pilot the lessons, we intuitively knew this, but it really came into play when students started thinking about the myths of being in special education and what is so many misperceptions about special education and even disability. So we put in a lesson just about learning about special education. We do a quick history of disability itself, learn about special education, and students complete an activity on how and why did I get here? How did I become involved in special education? And students will create their educational history. And in many ways, at first, it becomes tough for students to talk about, or many students, but boy, after they get warmed up, they really delve into it. And students have a chance to correct many of the myths they pick up along the way about their disability and about who they are because they have a disability. And then students will examine their IEP, where they get to know their IEP and they even go further into it. Students will learn about their rights and responsibilities in high school, after high school. We'll practice communication skills, how to communicate my needs and wants effectively, and learning about how to share my disability and who I share it with and when I share it with, and when I share it with someone. Students will start their self-awareness project and present their self-awareness project. Only if they want to, they present their self-awareness project to the class. In our pilot studies, every student wanted to present this. And then they learn about how to advocate for their needs in high school. I have a test coming up in my science class. I'm supposed to have accommodations, but my teacher doesn't believe I need accommodations. How do I make this happen? So students learn how to advocate for their needs when things don't go the way that they think they should. So the details of this, it takes about 20 hours to teach the Me lessons as they are. There's 23 different sessions that are 45 minutes long or so. It can be taught, almost anywhere in resource English, in resource social studies, in a transition class, a study skills class. And the cost, well, there's no cost. Just download it from the OU Zero Center, and the only cost would be printing it out on paper pencil if you wanted to print it out. So research on Me. So far, there's 3 studies that I know of. Students increase their knowledge of the Me content, and they increase their understanding of their disability and how their disability impacts their school performance and what to do about it. There's a great supplement to the Me lessons because not everybody, not all teachers have 20 hours where they can devote to teaching something. They just don't have the time in their schedule, or they can't have it rearranged for them where they could do this. So Mindy Lingo developed what she calls transition bell ringers. And these are very, very popular instructional tools. Time to teach, 5 to 10 minutes once a week at the beginning of class. And here are the skills that are covered: self-awareness, disability awareness, goal setting, knowledge to become actively engaged in your IEP meeting. And there's even a whole set of bell ringers on financial literacy. There's 50 fundamental transition bell ringers. There's 50 more advanced, or what she calls secondary transition bell ringers. And there's 50 bell ringers on financial literacy. Once again, free, just download them from the Zero Center. As far as I know, I haven't seen any studies on this. Mindy did publish an article in the Career Development for Exceptional Individuals journal that describes this and some of the pilot study that was done on it. But I haven't yet seen a particular study done on the effectiveness of the bell ringers. But stay tuned, those may be coming down the road later. But these are, a lot of teachers download these and use them. The self-directed IEP is that it's a lesson package to teach students to become involved in the IEP. And if you could invite anyone to your IEP, this is one of the bell ringers, by the way, who would it be and why? Disability awareness. Describe what the term disability means to you and describe your disability. This is another bell ringer. Another bell ringer is, how does your disability impact you at school, and what things help you overcome your disability? Self-awareness. What is your biggest fear about life after high school? What are 3 things you can do now to avoid the situation from happening? So here's the article that Mindy was the first author on that describes the bell ringers. So that's the bell ringers and the SDTP lesson package and the Me lesson package. There's another whole host of instructional materials available at the Zero Center website, and these are called the Choice Maker Self-Determined Lesson Materials. These were created with financial assistance from the U.S. Department of Education, the Office of Special Education and Rehabilitation Services. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 major lesson packages. Students choosing education goals, which is primarily designed for post-secondary education, choosing employment goals, choosing personal goals, take action, attaining IEP goals, and the self-directed IEP. So let's look at these. So choosing education goals, there's 8 lessons. Students will identify the subjects in school they like to look at their educational performance. They will track their study habits. They will examine post-secondary education options that match what they think they would like to do. There's a process that's called choosing general goals they'll complete to come up with the skills they need to learn to be able to do what they want to do. And there's a graduation course planner of things students need to do to help obtain their educational goals. So one of the really cool things about this is the choosing general goal process. It's a really great tool to have that almost always helps to come up with some with a crucial transition goal for students. So let's see how this works. So we have a transition area, which would be education. Do I know my interest? Christina says, I want a college degree and focus on photography. Do I know what's required to do this? I have to be a good photographer. I need to go to some kind of college, I have to have decent grades. Do we know my skills? I have to be good at photography and my grades are okay. Do I have the skills to meet the requirements? Go to goal 5. No. Can I learn the skills? Yes. I'm going to take a study skills class in high school so I can do better academically. It's a kind of cool process how this all works. Here's an example of the study habits log of students. Choose 3 study habits that you feel would help you do better in a particular class. Write the name of the class, highlight the 3 habits you choose. And so many students will take attendance for some. Some students think if they attend, 3 out of 5 classes a week, they're doing pretty good. And so, but, employers, and if you're not in class, chances are you don't do very well. If you don't attend a lot, chances are you won't be able to stay in high school. So attend class regularly. So students will say if they're there or not, and then arrive class on time or not. Bring needed materials to class. And so educators do this, the student will do this. And so the conclusion of all of this then is students will take their choosing education goal information and develop their own course of study for their IEP. A student-directed course of study represents a step toward becoming their own self-advocate. Excuse me, another lesson package is choosing employment goals. This works especially well when students are involved in some kind of a work study option or job internship situation. It almost needs that to work well. We introduce students to it. Students will practice choosing their employment goals. But then the key parts to this one are the job duties I like, the job characteristics I like, graphing the results, and the job duties, how I did, finding out how I did. And there's many more lessons as well. But one of the keys is this particular assessment tool right here. Prior to going to the job site, the student will say on Monday, the student will identify what I like. In each cell, they circle 1 or more things that they like about it. What do they want in a job site? What do they think their preferred job characteristics would be? Work alone, work with lots of people around. Personally, I like both of those, so I would circle both. Quiet workplace, noisy workplace. Well, I like both, so I would circle both. Weekdays, weekends, well, I like my weekends free, so I will select weekdays. Easy job, challenging job, Well, I really want easy jobs. Dress up for work, do not dress. I really want to wear a uniform, so I circle wear a uniform. Be so much easier if I just had to wear a uniform. Standing up, sitting down, I want to move around. Work mornings, work afternoons. Well, I sleep late every morning, so I have to work afternoons and nights. Get the idea. Then they go spend some time at a place, and without looking at what they chose they liked, they flip the page over. Then maybe after spending a week there, they circle what's here, what's at the job site they're visiting. And they go through and identify. I said I like to wear a uniform. Do people at this job site have to wear a uniform or not? No, but they have to dress up. Well, it's not a match. And so the key with so many things in life is a good match between what I like, what my expectations are, and what's there. So we end up calculating the percent of matches that a person has at each different job site. And then we can graph these. Like here, work alone, lots of people around. I worked alone, didn't like it very much. So now I know I want to work with lots of people around. And every time I fill out this form, it's lots of people around. So I can hold this up at the IEP meeting and say, here are the characteristics I like at the job the best. Mom and Dad, you see that long line? I really want to work with, what does that say? Lots of people around. Get the idea? So it comes up with a very meaningful process about helping to determine job preferences. For students who have the academic ability, it includes a dream job worksheet where students can go explore jobs in much more depth. They'll look at job outlooks, job earnings, related occupations, and will study those online, or even can go to job sites and conduct interviews. Another lesson package is choosing personal goals. Introduction is how am I with others? How do we get along with others? How do I interact in groups? What personal activities do I like? What's important to me? What do I do with my free time? What do I want to change? How can I change? What are school and community resources I could use? And finally, I'm going to choose my personal goals of what I want to do in the future. There was an important article that Andy Halpern wrote once upon a time that really looked at what transitions should encompass. And Halpern clearly indicated that we need to focus on the residential environment, social and interpersonal skills, and employment. And together, those three will bring about strong community adjustment to life. And that's where choosing personal goals come in, is on that social personal side of things. And so here's one of the activities that students complete is how important or not important are these things to me? Like family, a sense of belonging, feeling like someone is there for me, acceptance. Is that important or not important? What about friends and relationships, companionship, connections to people who are socializing? Important, not important? What about creativity in the arts, participating in arts, music, drama, doing things that are new like this in unique ways? How important is that? And we can complete some of these, all of these. Students get assistance in completing this. It's just a way to help identify what the students wants to do. Then we have a developing personal goal process. Just like we looked at earlier, the transition process is personal relationships. Do I know my interest? Yeah, is the relationships I have with families and my girlfriends, do I know what's required to do this? Well, not really. I have to find out what it takes to have relationships, good relationship with other girls in my family. Do I know my skills? I think I'm outgoing, I'm friendly, I communicate openly. Do I have the skills to meet this requirement? Yes, I do. Do I know my limits? Well, I have a really hard time trusting girls. Do my limits interfere with the requirement? Yes, they do. Well, I'm going to continue in therapy to learn how to get along better with other people, especially girls. take action. This, to me, this has been the overlooked lesson package. And I think in the future, this will become one of the more critical areas that we look at for secondary transition planning, because the essence of self-determination drives the transition education process. And the engine of self-determination is goal attainment, making goals happen. And take action specifically teaches goal attainment. And as Mike Waymeyer said, is goal attainment is the most important self-determination component. So along with that, there's the self-determined learning model of instruction. And so take action is similar to that, but I think it goes into a little more detail, especially about the adjustment component. The essence of self-determined learning model of instruction, SDLMI, is we set a goal, take an action on the goal, adjust goal or plan, and each section is driven by a set of questions. If you want to learn more about the self-determined learning model of instruction, just Google it, and there's all kinds of websites and information about that you can get more information on the SDLMI as well. And the take action, the major steps are we establish standards, determine how to get feedback, we identify motivation, select strategies. So it works like this. So it's all spelled out. And here's an example from the lesson package. Long-term goal, get my driver's license. Short-term goal, learn to drive. So a plan consists of 6 parts: the standard, motivation, strategy, schedule, support, feedback. Each part has an associated question. Standard, what will I be satisfied with? Motivation, why do I want to do this? Strategy, what methods will I use, or how am I going to do it? Schedule, when will I do this? Support, what help do I need? And help here can be people or things. Feedback, how will I get information on what I did? So students come up with a plan like this: get her driver's license to drive myself, practice driving 4 to 5 on Wednesday and Thursday. I'm going to use a friend who can drive, and my feedback is going to be what the passenger says about my driving. So we have the plan, and then students will put the plan into action, and they decide first, did I meet my short-term goal, yes or no? Did I meet my standard? No, don't have my driver's license yet. Was I motivated? Yes. Did I use the strategy? Yes. Did I follow the schedule? Well, no. Didn't go on Wednesday and Thursday at 4. Did I use my support? Yes, I did. Did I get feedback? No. So what are you going to do different? Evaluate, well, first of all, evaluate the results. Was the standard right? Yes. Motivation? Yes. Strategies, I really need to practice, so that was right. Schedule, no, because I had to wait till my friend was ready. Support, did it work? No. She didn't say anything and made me laugh instead. Feedback, didn't get any feedback. So what are you going to do differently? What are you going to adjust? I'm going to keep most of it, but instead, I'm going to do this when my mom is off work, and I'm only going to go with my mom, and my mom will tell me how I'm doing because she knows what she's doing. So then we make a new plan and complete the entire process again. So we're going to drive on Saturdays at 4. I need help from mom and only mom, and mom will tell me how I did. See how it works? There was a revision that was done, and Jody Martin was actually the one who did a study on this and changed the support category a little bit. And she added in, what help do I need from people and what things will help me? So she divided support into people and things. And that really seemed to make the difference. And for schedule, put in reminder. How will I remember that it's time to do something? So here's this. One study was done on Take Action that found that it was successful. This was Jody Martin's study using the Take Action process with a group of high school kids. And so Take Action works. It's a part of a lesson package. Go look at Take Action. It's a very effective tool. It doesn't take long to teach students how to use it. But the dream with Take Action is that students, for each of their IEP goals, they will do something every week to help make those goals happen. So the IEP goal is a long-term goal. It could be a transition goal, an annual academic goal, social goal, whatever it is. So students will do something at least every week to help that goal be attained. They will make a plan, they will implement the plan, they'll evaluate their performance, make needed adjustments. Next week, make another plan. It's like riding the bike. The more and more and more students do this, they automatically, intuitively pick up the skill, and then hopefully will be able to generalize it to other situations. Another type of lesson package that teaches self-determination is Whose Future Is It Anyway? That Mike Waymeyer and his colleagues developed. And you can download this free also from the Zero Center website. It looks at getting to know you, making decisions, how to get what you need, come up with goals and objectives for the future, how you communicate, and so forth. The particular sections and lesson plans, you can just glance at what some of those topics are. A lot of what available community resources are out there. The last lesson package I want to tell you about, this one cost about $150. It's available from ProEd Publishers. Sharon Field and Alan Hoffman wrote this. It's called Self-Determination, a Curriculum Guide for Adolescents to Learn to Achieve Their Goals. This one wasn't specifically developed just for kids with IEPs. It was for all adolescents, including students with IEPs. Family members come in, and it becomes a collaborative effort to learn what the goals are and what families and students can do together to attain their goals. If you're interested, go to the ProEd website and look at it. So step to self-determination. It's rights and responsibilities, goal setting, and anticipating consequences, negotiation skills, and a few other particular content areas. And so what we now know is, like so many other skills, students with disabilities need to systematically be taught these skills because they just, for whatever reason, many of them never developed essential self-determination skills. And we have numerous evidence-based lesson packages to teach self-determination skills. But it's not just teaching the skills. Students need opportunities to practice these skills and practice the skills and practice these skills. But most essential is educators have to find time to teach students these essential skills. With that said, good luck, have fun teaching these skills. I'm Jim Martin, and for the Illinois Center for Transition and Work, I hope you enjoyed this webcast on teaching essential self-determination skills. Bye-bye.